Hello, everybody. Today on Cooking for Morons, we'll be going over a super thin crust pizza recipe. Three recipes, in fact, all of which make pizzas. Slightly different than how I've done this before, what with it being multiple recipes, but they're all very related, and you should be able to build off of how you learn to do one of them to make the others. So just sort of pay attention to the first one and decide which one you would like to make. Anyway, to start with, a traditional pizza. So, for the traditional pizza, you're going to put on whatever you would normally want on a pizza. I really like a deluxe or supreme, or however you want to put that regionally, kind of pizza. So we're going to go over those ingredients. First of all, I'm currently frying some garlic. I'm going to be putting that on top of the sauce underneath the cheese because I don't find that the sauce I bought has enough flavor on its own. I've got this currently on medium, but it's done essentially, so we're just going to toss it there and come back to it. Heat is off, by the way. What isn't off, however, is the oven, which you should preheat to 350. The core of what you're going to need, some sort of flatbread. Since this is an extra thin crust pizza, we're using flatbread. I use pita. It is ironically thicker than the other flatbreads, and that's why I choose to use it. You could probably get away with any other kind. I just really prefer the physical integrity of pita bread for this one. Not so much the moral integrity, though. Your favorite spaghetti sauce, like some sort of canned pasta sauce, or you could make your own using tomato paste, if that's what you have. I don't honestly know how to make this out of tomatoes, so you'll probably have to look up another recipe if that's all you've got. I'm going to be chopping up some mushrooms, some onion, and some green pepper. And of course we're going to be putting the pepperoni on, and personally I really like green olives. So we'll be doing that as well. Oh, also, there's this big thing of hamburger, because I like a little bit of hamburger. We're not going to need much. Hold on. That is plenty. That will do just fine. One more thing. Another advantage to using flatbread instead of pizza dough is that they are cheap as all hell. I got, I think, 6 of those, 5 or 6 pitas for $2. Now, unless you're making your own pizza crust at home, then that probably would be cheaper, but that's a lot of work and I don't want to do it, so flatbreads. Cheap. Alright, so now we're going to cut everything up. We'll start, I guess, with the mushrooms. I'm going to cut enough mushrooms for all of the recipes, since they're all going to be using it. We're only going to be using roughly, 3, maybe 2 if they're very large, for any given recipe. Just so you know. Yeah, so we're not cutting them into tiny pieces for this purpose. You can cut them as small as you actually would like. But this is essentially what I'm going for. We have the green pepper. So we're not going to need a whole lot. So, that will do. Just cut off a slice of it. You could use the end piece as well, but make sure it's a much smaller slice. You don't need a whole lot of green pepper. It's really just to add a fresh flavor to the pizza. We're going to cut it into very small bits, though. That small. So now we've got a bunch of little green peppers cut up. The reason we're doing them so small, by the way, is so that they don't take as long to cook. Now, onion. Don't need a whole lot of onion either. This is, again, just for flavor. So, that'll do. And you just slice it up into very small bits. Yeah, so, small slice lengthwise and widthwise, and then dice them. I'm going to get them nice and small. So dicing, just, if you don't know how to do it, hand on top of the blade, hand on the handle. Use the rocky blade up and down. Reorient, do it again. So we're going to take that and our mushroom. And we're actually going to put this in the frying pan. The flat bread will crisp very quickly and can burn. So we're going to just fry these about a third to a half of the way. It shouldn't take very long. All right, so while that's happening, while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and put the sauce on the pizza. So just use some sort of small spoon. I mean, you could use almost anything as long as you can scoop. Large spoon, knife would work, but it would be obnoxious. Yeah, that should be good. And this is kind of hard to do through a camera. Right, so I put the phone down and did it with 2 hands. I ended up putting a 4th scoop of sauce on in order to spread it around to the whole thing. But yeah, just use the back of your spoon. Try to get as much of the surface as you can, but don't worry about it, honestly. Do not forget to come check on and stir your vegetables. We're not trying to cook them through. Just sort of get the process started so that the oven can finish the job, you know? Now, for my personal preference, this is not specific to the recipe. I'm going to put the garlic on the pizza. All right, I've now taken the vegetables off the heat. See that they're not exactly cooked, but they're starting to get a little bit softer. That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to put that in the back there and just let it wait. Okay, so we have the pizza with the garlic, and we're going to go ahead and put the cheese on top of it. I've gone ahead and grated all the cheese we're going to need for any of these. Well, all of them, rather. Oh god, it's always so hard to do this through a camera. Okay, I fixed it up there with the camera off. So you can either use pre-shredded mozza or shred your own mozza, or if you only have sliced cheese, or that's all you can really afford, like 4 pieces of sliced cheese will do. Might spill a little bit over to the sides, but that's fine. Maybe put some tin foil under it if you have to, but next up is another personal preference. I'm going to put some Italian seasoning on there. This is a basil container, but it has basil, thyme, oregano, and parsley. So yeah, just give it a little bit more flavor. Next up, we've got this. These are our... Oh god, why do I do this to myself? I need a GoPro. This is the beef, the vegetables, onion, which I guess is a root vegetable, so I don't know why I made that distinction. So there we have it, spread out pretty well. Always air towards the middle so that it's easier to lift up and it doesn't tip over and dump the ingredients when you're trying to move it. It's better that it be center heavy. Next up, I'm going to put on my olives. There, olives have been assigned? Spread out, whatever. Notice I didn't put that many. Olives, if you decide to use olives on the pizza, they are very strong tasting. You only need a few. And lastly, the pepperoni. Okay, so I always put the pepperoni on this away and always last because I find that the pepperoni helps keep the other parts of the pizza together. So we're going to form a rough ring around the outside to start with. Like so. Don't worry about open gaps. It doesn't matter. Likewise, don't worry about overlap. Does not matter. Once you have the ring, you'll fill in the space in the ring like so. There. And that is... Oh, no, there's a bit of a gap. I'm going to cover it. Shut up. And there. That is a ready-to-cook pizza. We're going to go ahead and slide that in the oven for 5 to 6 minutes at 350, like I mentioned. And I'll show it to you when it's finished. And here it is, the finished ultra-thin crust pizza. It's pretty warm still. You can cut this into as many pieces as you want, or just use a fork and a knife to eat it like a weirdo. But when it's this thin, when the toppings are so heavy and the crust is so thin, that's actually totally valid. So don't be afraid to be weird in this case. Next up, let's do the chicken pizza, the barbecue chicken pizza. Hi. So for this one, I'm not going to go over the steps as finely tuned as I did the last one. I'm going to do all of the prep off camera and then just show you how to assemble the pizza on the crust. I think everything that I'm going to do here has been demonstrated in a previous video. So hopefully you guys will know what you're doing. I mean, a lot of it is what I've already done. Diced up some vegetables, partially fry them, put them on top of the pizza. The only thing that's going to be different this time is the use of barbecue sauce instead of tomato sauce, and chicken instead of pepperoni and or hamburger. So let's get to it. Okay, so now that we've freed ourselves from the tyranny of tomato sauce, we can experiment a little more. So this recipe is going to use barbecue sauce in place of tomato sauce, but you can make literally this exact recipe with ranch or Caesar in order to make like a chicken ranch or chicken Caesar pizza. You could even, after it's all said and done and cooked, put some like lettuce on top in order to give it that sort of fresh salady crunch. But that's up to you. For this though, we're going to use barbecue sauce. There we go. It looks essentially the same as the pizza sauce, just slightly different color, a little bit thinner. Then we're going to go and put the cheese on, and I will do that off camera. All right, there we have it. Cheese is spread out. Then the partially cooked vegetables. I'm going to go right on there, and I'll spread those out. There we go. Now, because this doesn't have something like pepperoni to sort of hold it all together, I'm going to recommend putting another just very thin layer of whatever sauce you used as the pizza sauce for this one. Then, chicken time. And there we go. The chicken is laid out. I used the similar sort of build a ring and then fill it in approach that I did with the pepperoni. And lastly, one more quick layer of barbecue sauce, because you want this thing to have the barbecue flavor. And then it goes in the oven. I'll show it to you on the other side. There, 5 minutes in the oven, and there we have it. I'm going to let that cool. I'm going to put some saran wrap over it, put it in the fridge, and I will have this later on. Okay, now it's time to do the breakfast pizza. So to start with, you're going to need to break 2 or 3 eggs. I went with 3. You can get away with 2 just fine. I just think that 2 is a little anemic on the egg side. Beat it up as though you're making scrambled eggs or an omelet. Add to it some like a dash of salt, dash of pepper, a little bit of oregano, and some bacon bits. So we've already fried up the veggies and some sausage, which is underneath there. I recommend breakfast sausage, although I used Italian because it's what was on sale. I'm bothering to record this bit because this is probably the least intuitive part of this. I mean, I guess it's intuitive. You'll see. I'm going to show you this bit in particular. So I spread some oil around the pan, like so, as you do. Make sure that you get the whole surface of the pan. Then take your beat egg and just right in the middle. And let it spread. Try not to mix it with the oil. You need the oil to stay underneath of it. So you're going to do this like you would scrambled eggs, by letting it kind of get a little bit hard and then breaking it up and tossing it or what have you. But we're not going to cook it all the way through. This will be sort of like if you ever cooked scrambled eggs and you didn't leave it in long enough and they were kind of like weird soft. That's how you want them, because they're going to cook more. So we've actually got this on medium. I'm going to wait for the bottom layer to sort of form. I recommend going around the edge and lifting it. Okay, we're basically there. I'm turning the heat off. And now we're going to scramble. Heat off. Because the pan is still hot. It still will cook. I can figure I can do this through a camera. Strange. Alright. And that's actually it. Like, that's cooked. It's got to go in the oven for 5 minutes. That is enough. So you can use whatever kind of sauce you would normally have your eggs with. Be it hollandaise, hot sauce, or in true white people fashion, ketchup. So there we have it. Ketchup is spread out. Now, as is tradition, we're adding the cheese. There, cheese is laid out. Now, I do recommend not using all of your cheese yet, and I'll show you why in a moment. Next up, the combination of the veggies and... Actually, I think I overcooked the veggies a bit this time. That should be fine. The veggies and the sausage. There we have it. Spread out nicely. And just like the barbecue pizza, because this is a bit looser, we are going to put some ketchup over this layer and then put the egg in. And there we go. The egg on top. Now, even with the ketchup between the layers, this is still pretty loose and chunky. So that's why I recommended saving some cheese. We're going to put another layer of cheese right on top. This will melt and help hold the whole thing together. And there we have it. The layer of cheese on top, I patted it down to get it like relatively flat, at least compared to how bulbous it was. And then we're going to bake it for 5 minutes like the other two. See you on the other side. And there we have it, a breakfast pizza. It's a big, thick boy, and it will be delicious. Hey, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of these recipes. If you decide to try it for yourself, let me know how it turned out in the comments. Don't forget to like if you found this useful. If you didn't find it useful, fuck you. Also, maybe dislike it, because that helps too. This was the most... I guess, I don't know if it's the most in-depth recipe I've done yet, but it had 3 recipes in it that were similar but slightly different. So let me know how I handled that. I think I taught the basics well enough with the first recipe in depth for you to be able to put together the second and third. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments, and I will reply. A reminder that this and my live streams, which you can find over at twitch.tv/GreatCanadianGuy, as well as everything else I do, is brought to you by your own support over at patreon.com/GreatCanadianGuy. So if you found this helpful, you want to support the channel directly, make sure that I get to keep making content, live streams, video essays that I have in the works, then think about becoming a patron. As little as $1 a month does make a big difference. Special thanks to my lovely patrons who are contributing at least $5 a month to the channel. We've got Scipio, Poetry Falcon, Paul Harding, Japhicus, Woodrose, Midnight Saber, and Kara. Once again, everything I do here is brought to you by your support, either through donations, Twitch subscriptions, or over at patreon.com/GreatCanadianGuy, where you can see these videos ahead of everybody else, like cool, important people. Anyway, thank you so much. Take care.